Everybody in? Are you coming in here or? Yeah? All right. Can you hear me? Great. So thank you for joining you. I wanted to avoid the after lunch dip, so I closed the lunch door, and so someone else will have the after lunch dip. So welcome in this workshop. Oh, there goes the microphone. Absolutely. Time-wise, I want to promise you you'll get lunch if there is lunch. And my prediction is that behind closed doors, there's no lunch. But so that's not my. But I will stop in about an hour max. Yeah. So 1:45, we stop here. Whether I'm ready or not, most likely I'm not ready because I'm super ambitious. That's my. So I want to do many things with you with too much, but I also want to make sure.
I want to make you sure you will find lunch behind. But the doors are closed because German behavior.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Take care. I stop in 1 hour. Is that fine?
Okay.
Yeah? All right. So he's gone. We can go on. So my name is Tom. I will introduce myself. I gave each of you a little card. You have the card. And I want you to find a neighbor. Yeah? And on the card, on one side there's my name and my web address, so you can always find that if you want it. But on the other side there's a little picture. Yeah? And I want you to look at the picture and think about what does the picture tell you in terms of what kind of trends do you see in that picture? Do you see a trend? And does it relate to you? So think about it for a couple of seconds, then turn to your neighbor. So find the neighbor, introduce yourself, and talk for half a minute about what you see, and I will switch it.
You have 2 more cards?
2 more? Absolutely. Yeah. So I will set the timing. So I will say when you have to start your conversation. First, think about it for 30 seconds, and the people in the back 25. Here you are.
Super. Thank you.
Yeah. And everybody has a card? Okay, so round 1, half a minute, introduce yourself to your neighbor and talk about, hey, what do I see in this picture? How does it relate to a trend? Yeah? I'll talk to you. Can you switch off the microphone? Yeah.
Such as templates, file
Yeah.
management, the data. And since I'm in recruiting, I could also have Skype interviews.
Yeah.
That was the perfect
Yeah.
option. And since I had also the corporate mobile phone, I was all the time available.
Okay.
And this option helped me actually to work even
Yeah.
if I was a little bit ill.
Okay.
And to combine all
Yeah,
my
work with. Okay. Switch sides. So the other person talks about his or her card. Sorry to interrupt you. So this is, you know where it is?
New York.
New York, yeah, it's Central Park. View from Central Park. So this is for me about globalization. The world becomes smaller and smaller, and personally I like that because I like to travel and I like to connect to people from different nationalities. So that helps me. Yeah. All right. Nice to have met you. Thank you. All right. So any views here, front row? What was your trend? What's your name? Falco.
I'm Falco.
Falco. Shh. Yeah. So what did you talk about?
We talk about the cards.
Yeah.
Features, mobility, and I see coffee.
Coffee. Okay. You see coffee.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And do you see a trend in food? What is your important food trend?
Important food trends.
Yeah. Yeah. Localization, for example. I see a lot if you go in the street. It's all local and small, and that's counter to my card has Central Park on it. Globalization, the world globalization. At the same time, you have localization. Everybody wants local things. Anybody in the back? Oh, here we have a microphone. What was on your card, and what did you talk about?
There's numbers on my card.
Yeah.
And I think it means that numbers are increasingly becoming more important
Yeah.
in HR and in general, like HR controlling.
People analytics, HR
Yeah.
analytics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right. You can keep the card, and then you know how to find me as well. So let me see. So my name is Tom. My background is in international HR. That's basically, I've worked my whole life in all kinds of different HR jobs in companies. You see there from Philips to Aon to Arcadis. You know Arcadis? That's a big Dutch engineering company. Today I'm also part-time the HR director for a company called Fugro. We do soil investigation. We offshore and onshore. That's a company with around 12,000 people around the world. So that's one of my ventures. One third, I'm the director of the HR Trend Institute. I'm a trend watcher in the domain of people and organization. And then the other third, which is left, I'm a partner of a people analytics company called Cruncher. And there we crunch people data. So HR is my domain, and I'm interested in trends. And I'm more specifically interested in what we can measure and how can we use measurement and how can we improve the impact of HR by measuring more and using science. So that's today I will try to focus on that. And what I have is kind of 4 elements, and I'm sure I won't be able to cover it all totally. But I want to show you, I want to start off with a little bit broad picture about what are the trends I see today. And how does people analytics fit in that? And I will give you some examples. I'm a collector of examples. I like examples of organizations and suppliers that really develop cool, innovative stuff. And so if you know things I should know, let me know, then I can add them to my collection. I was talking to Nico, he has a very interesting startup, I would say startup, in the area of neuroanalytics and using that to help to improve functioning people. If I say it well, you can explain it. Explain it in one sentence. What does your company do? Yeah, is microphone analyzing.
We analyze social signals in human
Yeah.
interactions.
So that's in it, and the company name is
Effective signals.
Effective Signals. So that's for me. I didn't know about it. So for me, that's a good find today. I learned about a new company that's really innovative, using the stuff we talked about in the session here before to really improve how people in different organizations can function. Very interesting. So I'm a collector of those type of stories. Send them to me. You have the card if you know more stories. So you can't read this, but I tweeted it before. It's worthwhile to look at it because I try to capture all the trends in the world of HR in one picture. And I'm going to give you some examples. But it's important that on the left side you see technology, and we talked about technology. Technology is an important driver of many things that are happening in the HR arena today. And the person, Sven, who was here in the morning, he talked a lot about technology and how can we improve man and machine interface. And that's also your startup. That's today one of the hot topics. There's all kinds of technology possible, but how can we make sure that people can work with it? And how can we make sure that the impact of HR increases? I look at the world today in 8 trend areas, and you can see them there and you can read them. There's different ways. You see the trends, and I will give you some examples specifically on the measurement side out of those areas. It's not about the trends, because the trends, you will recognize them and you will see them. Those trends are long-term trends. The change of organizations from stifling hierarchical structures to more network type of organization. That's a trend that has been going on for years and years. Globalization is a trend that has been going on for years. And you see some of the other trends there. I will tackle some examples. The first one is in this trend, changing shapes of organizations. Some examples. I won't go into all the theoretical element. One of the elements there, what you see is that HR, how many of you are HR professionals or working in HR area or learning for HR? Yeah, so about half of the people here. HR traditionally focus very much on individuals. It's about job profiles, for example. In a hierarchical organization, it's a lot about job profiles. What is the vacancy? What is the description? What are we looking for? That is changing today. Not looking at individuals, but also looking, and it alludes also, you saw part of this picture this morning in the first presentation. What is the network of people look like? And this is a picture you could make in LinkedIn until about a year and a half ago. Unfortunately, it's no longer possible. It was just a simple picture of what does your network look like. This is my LinkedIn picture at a certain moment in time. It's not about me, but it's already, even though it only shows my connection, it's an interesting picture. What you see here, for example, is well, I call it purple. I don't know. I was in those days working at Arcadis, engineering company. This is established Arcadis, the Bobos, the senior managers. That was my domain. This is young, the high potentials. What you see here is a person who apparently is a good connector between young and old. And you see other connectors in this graph. There's a green connector there, connecting, in this case, a US, and I worked for a US company with Europe. If you can make these kind of maps in your organization or the networks you're in, it gives you strong information. So talking about measurement and analytics. If you're looking, for example, if you say, well, this is Asia and this is Europe, and we want to develop our business in Asia, where are the people today who are already the natural connectors between Europe and Asia? Can we find them? And then we can track those people and help, and identify them and say, hey, you are the persons who are going to help develop our business. So mapping networks is an enormous, powerful tool in the analytic arena. And there are simple tools available. LinkedIn is no longer available. You can buy it today at Korn Ferry, but there are other tools, old tools with technology of today. Basically what you do, if you still have to ask people, you say, I ask you, who are the people you are in connection with? And I also ask you, who are the people who help you? And who are the people who are blockers? Because that's nice additional information. We can have a strong relation, but if I block you all the time, then you better stay out of my area. Yeah? So this is simple to do. For HR, a nice addition in terms of analytics. What is the strength of networks? You know Cloud Score, K-L-O-U-T? Who has a Cloud Score here? What's your cloud score?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
Here.
It's an instrument you can go to, and it calculates how strong are you as a networker in the social media you're active in. And so today it's still rather subjective, you could say, but it's a developing instrument. My cloud score today, you can see there is 60.1. It can go from 0 to 100. It's helpful again, for example, if you interview applicants and they say, I'm a super networker and I'm well connected, and then the cloud score is 10, you say, well, maybe not. Huh? At least you have a discussion. I thought we talked about the story yesterday at dinner with some people, but you see here, you can't read it, but it says expert topics. Tom is an expert in human resources, so that's luckily management, consulting, and bingo. So, and how does the bingo come there? Because I once wrote a little blog about change management bingo. That was a popular blog post, and now it takes it out, and it makes me an expert on bingo. So it's not totally useful, but it's developing. We're still talking about the trend, more network organizations. And how do you use networks? In this case, Zappos. You know Zappos? Zappos is a shoe, yeah, they sell shoes. It's part of Amazon. They are saying, and many companies are doing it today, saying, you can no longer apply for a job in our company. We don't have the vacancies. You can only make sure that you become part of our network. So if you become part of our network, then at some time you might find yourself that you have a job. But we first like to see whether you are one of us. Are you part of the Zappos family? Do you fit in the culture? Do you fit in the values? And so you can become part of a community in Zappos, for example, the shoe designer community or the HR community. And then you connect to real people at Zappos. And of course, they measure it as well. It's all about analytics. Who are the people who are active? Are they bringing us new material? How can we do that? So some examples from hierarchy to network. This is tech. You saw this morning already some examples. This is a little instrument, the Hitachi business microscope. You know it? Have you? It's basically, if people have a badge like you have today, I don't wear it, but it's in the badge, and there's a little detector in the badge, not here, but you could do it. Huh? There's a detector in the badge that tracks where people are, physically, in organizations, and they track them. So you can see, hey, is Tom a mover? To whom is he speaking? Is he a connector or not? It would be probably legally today in many European countries illegal to do that. But for example, in the conference business, like today, it's open. They say to people, there's a detector in your badge. You can, at the beginning, you can say, who are the people I want to meet? Then when you are walking around on the conference, when you come close to someone who is on your list, it buzzes. Bzzz. Say, hey, yeah, and then you and you the other way around as well. You know all those fairs. You have been at fairs. You stand there at your stand. There's hundreds of people passing by. Most of them are not prospects. They're not. So most of them actually at fairs are always people at other stands walking around to see what you are doing in your stand. So that's not interesting. But if a real prospect comes along, then if your badge buzzes, that's very helpful. So it helps to make your life more comfortable in conference. It will appear, this is an example of an organization out of Hitachi gave it themselves, so it's probably a commercial picture. But they say, this is before an intervention, a training, or a new manager, and this is after, and see how well the two departments mingle. So it's measurement, tracking people in the workplace. This is face recognition. Also, and it's partly related to your business maybe, looking at people's faces and what are the emotions that people have. Again, if you would use it in video interviewing and you won't announce it to people, probably illegal, but it's possible. It's for training purposes, you can certainly do it. And you say, if you want to come across friendly, and the software says, well, we see anger, then it's helping. But it is there, and my statement always, if it's possible, it's used as well. So you better watch out if you do video interviewing that you have a friendly face. Workometry is a relatively successful startup. What Workometry is doing for organizations is trying to capture what is going on by looking at software, by looking at conversations. So it's sensing in an organization, and then it says, well, we have an idea of what the temperature is in the organization. And you can imagine if you're the group A, you're group B, here is anger, and there's resistance, and there's insecurity. The words in the email and the tones of your voice are different than this happy bunch here. So we're coming to, and then you don't have to do any longer like the traditional employee surveys. You know the surveys, people do 100 questions, are you happy, are you not happy? That's no longer necessary. There's a constant measurement of temperature in the organization. And if you do it relatively anonymous, you don't point it to individuals, but you say we do it on a higher level, it helps enormously to sense what's going on. Workometry, but there's more of them. This is Muse. Muse is, everything I show is existing. You can go to Muse and you give Muse access to your email, and it gives you the emotions in your email. So this is my email in a 6 months period. Well, there's many emotions, you can't read them, fortunately. But I had joy and pride are luckily dominant in my picture. Yeah. Again, it's using text, it's analyzing the text and distracting emotions from it. Muse. This is very interesting. Personality insights. Also, you can go there. It's powered by Watson, IBM Watson. You know the Big 5 personality test? Yeah? That's a quite reliable psychological test. Big 5, and the normal Big 5 execution is you have to fill in a questionnaire, and again, maybe not 100, but around 100 questions, and then you get a profile. This is my profile, Big 5 profile. I did it, a friend of mine has a test agency, I did the test, and there's the outcome. Then someone else said, well, it's a little bit old-fashioned the way you do it. You go to personality insights, you dump text you have written into the machine, and I write a lot, so I took just 5 of my old blog posts, copy-paste in the machine, push the button, and the commonality between the outcome of the 2 tests was about 95%. So by just, and I don't know exactly how it works, to be honest, but because I say, well, out of my blog posts, can they distract my personality? But apparently they can, and it works quite well. This is also has to do with the consequence is that the expectation of people in organizations will also change. Because now and next time, let's assume I come somewhere for a job interview and they say, well, yeah, part of it is testing. Here's the Big 5 questionnaire, you have to fill in this whole. I say, well, you better go to Personality Insights, dump my text in it, and it's ready. So the expectation of people in organizations will also change. They will say, why do I have to fill in a long questionnaire? Also for engagement survey. Why do I have to fill in a long test for personality insight? It's all possible faster, quicker with technology of today. It's interesting. You can do it, and the frightening side again. So this is also about danger, analytics, danger or new perspective. The danger is a little bit. You can do it tonight. Tonight you can take my 5 last blog posts, put them in Personality Insights, and you know exactly what my personality profile Big 5 looks like. So if you can do it, companies where I apply for a job, for example, can also do it. Clients can do it. So it's happening today. So the danger is, who are using it? And also commercial institutions can do it. They can say, what is the typical buying behavior of someone with that type of personality profile, we better approach him in a certain way. Crystal, again, existing. Crystal is a very nice plug-in. You can do it it works with Google, it works with Chrome, it works with LinkedIn. Again, it makes a personality profile of someone based on behavior on social media. So again, is it right? Is it totally right? But it will evolve in the coming period. So this is, if you have Crystal and you write an email to me, Crystal says, well, Tom, this is the best way to approach Tom. Keep it short, be to the point, and stay friendly. I make it up, but other persons will say, well, you better be careful and be formal. So it gives you tips how to approach people. Is it perfect? Not today, but it will become more perfect also because I give feedback. For example, I say, do I recognize, Crystal gives me my profile, and they ask me, do you recognize yourself? Well, yeah, Tom is a natural supporter, friendly, compassionate, loyal, and finds comfort in a group of familiar people. I don't know. At least it's positive. But Crystal, interesting. So there will be more tools that help you to function better. This is a Cambridge University venture, Magic Souls. You can go there as well. They make personality profiles based on Facebook links, Facebook likes. And not bad. Of course, people who don't have Facebook and don't have Facebook likes, it's difficult to make the profile. So you need some data. Again, the danger is it can be done. It can be done based on the behavior of people online. Again, and I will stop on the technology, but this is a nice tool you can use also tomorrow, Textio, textio.com. What you do there is you put in your advertisement text or your job profile, and it analyzes the text. I don't know whether it's available in German yet, to be honest. This is English. This is a vacancy we did for in my software company for a sales associate. And it analyzes the text. And for example, it says, well, the tone of this text is rather male. So if you want to attract female applicants as well, you better make some changes in the text. And you're not aware of it. I mean, I didn't write the text, but someone wrote the text, and it's more a male text. And the score is not bad, 75 to be honest. So it was good, but it gives you tips immediately how to approach people in a better, more friendly way. Textio. Again, people analytics, what makes technology possible? This is Harvard. Do you know Harvard? Harvard is an interesting company, and it shows a little bit the current state of recruitment, you could say. One of the big clients of Harvard is Booking.com. You probably know Booking.com, you book hotels. Booking.com basically has two big groups of people working for them. Software people, because they're constantly renewing their site and testing that, and customer service people. You phone up and say, well, I come to my hotel and the hotel is not there or it's booked or whatever. Yeah. And Booking is popular. So there's hundreds and hundreds of applicants. So Harvard made this machine for them. And if you apply for a job at Booking, you go into a kind of online assessment. And you meet people, there's a simulation, an interactive simulation. So I apply for a job in the call center, and I get cases, and I have to answer questions, and I have to act in the simulation. I have to do some tests as well. And if I pass those tests, I get interviewed by Booking. That's part of the interesting story. The other side is that what Harvard does, because Booking has quite a number, they measure constantly who are the best software developers and who are the best call center people. And with their volume, they can do that easily. And call center is a domain, talking about people analytics, where you relatively easy can measure the performance of people. How many phone, how many times do they answer the phone, and are the clients happy? Yeah, those are the two most important indicators: speed and happiness of clients. They can measure that, and then they look at the profile of those people, the actual profile, and feed that back to the selection process here. They don't ask for diplomas, they don't ask for all the obvious things, because they only look what is relevant in what we measure. And through that loop, that's a continuous improvement loop. That's continuous improvement, and it's also, to be honest, far more attractive for applicants. Because you do it at home, you're selected, the first filter is relatively friendly, and it's a lot more reliable, and it's a lot more friendly also for people with a diversity type of background, because it doesn't look at what you look like, and it doesn't look at your obvious things, what's your name, etc. It looks at really relevant criteria. So Harvard, interesting case, and really, and you won't, I mean, the question of this workshop is danger or new perspective. I'm from the new perspective side, you can imagine, but there are some dangers, but Harvard is a nice example. There are some dangerous sides. This is the last one on the technology side. Inside, it looks friendly with the guy, the hipster, and so on. But you can order, there you can order your genome. So for, they make your DNA profile. And the cost, and again, in some countries it's illegal today to do that. So, but I mean, even if it's illegal, you can do it. You send them in an envelope. You put it in an envelope, and you get your total DNA profile. And they say we can also then predict part of your future, which is frightening. Yeah. From a medical point of view. But they don't do that. But they say we can also say what type of profile do we see in certain professions, etc. It costs, if you'd order it with Insight, it's still, I looked at it a couple of days ago, it is still quite expensive. I think about $3,500. But the actual cost price of making a complete DNA profile of a person has gone down to about $750 today. So that's cheaper than many assessments. So the price has dramatically gone down. Before I open for the first round of questions and discussion, this is again about measurement. This is a building. You can see it. It's the headquarters of Deloitte in the Netherlands, in fact. That's also a building that is measuring constantly what are the people in that building doing. So if you enter the building, I enter the building on Monday morning with my iPhone. It says, hey, good morning, Tom. It's Monday morning. You might want a quiet corner. Well, the quiet corners today are there and there. Or on Tuesday, if you want to meet the people of your team, that's where they are. If I go to a coffee machine in the building, any coffee machine, it knows you're Tom. In the morning, it's a cappuccino. In the afternoon, espresso. It also knows exactly through the armatures. It's a Philips powered building, and there's little Wi-Fi in the lamps, so it knows that the two of you are sitting together today. Yeah. So again, measuring who are connected to whom, what are they doing. Also in the Netherlands we have workers' councils, so there might be some issues. If you use it wrongly and you say, hey Tom, 10 cups of coffee per day, that's maybe a little bit too much. So you can misuse it, but generally it improves the life of the people in that building. And it also improves the life of the people managing the building, because they know exactly which rooms are used, which rooms are popular, how people are behaving in that building. One more example, because it's a nice example in the technology arena. This is a software called Enterprise Behavioral Matching. Again, existing software used by many companies. What that software does, assume you are a call center. Again, yeah? Let's just say booking call center. I'm a customer. I phone the call center. The software knows someone, generally you know something about an individual, like where is he calling from, is he, if you typed in a number, they know exactly who you are. Also, if someone is calling for the 10th time or not. If I'm calling for the 10th time, well, you can assume that I'm an angry customer, generally speaking. Because, so it said, hey, angry customer on the line, let's direct, and then the software directs me to the best fit in the call center. So it said, hey, here's the person who can really deal with angry customers in the best possible way. And immediately my anger goes down. And I say, okay, well, I'm glad you helped me, etc. If I'm an older woman from the north, and then I'm directed to the most patient, let's assume you're the most patient person in the call center. And he helps me in a slow way, and I can. So that's software instantly helps to make the life of the customers better, but also make the life of the people in the call center better, because she likes to do difficult customers. And the moment they are there, you get the most difficult customers. Yeah? And if you deal them well, you get promoted. So I stop here for a moment and ask you questions, reactions. What do you think of this? And all in the theme of danger or new perspective. Who can I give? Yeah. Anybody? What do you think, Paula?
I thought that there's a lot of possibilities, and I like that, but also especially the part of the building that is so smart that it knows who you are and knows where you're going. That's kind of frightens me, because I think like people can misuse it.
It's the privacy element. Yeah.
For the privacy.
Yeah.
So,
But it also helps you. Yeah. Because the life in the building is a lot more, because you know where if you want to know your colleagues, find your colleagues, you can find them.
They can't run away.
No, no, but it's, so there's frightening element as well. Yeah. Anybody else? What do you think? You can talk German as well. I understand German as well.
Yeah, it goes a bit in the direction
Yeah?
the speaker before told us. You get a lot of information, you measure a lot of things, you are able to analyze the data, and it seems if you see all the examples, you just need a kind of meta stage or a software that gathers data from all these very intelligent softwares. Yeah, you need just a dashboard which allocates or collects all the data from the subsystems.
So that's So your point is, what do you do with all? You can gather all the data, but what do you do with it? How do you make sense of it? Absolutely, yeah. That's an important point. Anybody here? Yeah.
I think
Take the microphone close to your.
what I think actually I just asked me when can I use that, and I noticed everything just to try how it works. But I have an experience with Hogan assessment, you know. And as I had a training, we had some teacher or some trainer who had told us she doesn't look at people at all. She doesn't interview them. She looks at the profile and can decide if it matches or not. And I don't agree with this, for example, because I think as HR you should take care of both. And I see this profile, this data as an additional tool to hire, not the first one.
No, so that's the point also Sven made this morning. It's not machine replacing people. But can you make your assessments better by using the instruments in a sensible way? Can you pass on the microphone? State your name and then. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Tatiana. My point goes into the same direction, because I think at some point of time the human comes into analyzing the data. Yeah, the machine collects it, and then a human analyzes data and draws conclusions. And the risk is that the human draws the wrong conclusions of this data and is not able to analyze it without talking to people.
Yeah, but Yeah, just one reaction. But the reality of the reality in the organizations where I have worked in the past years is that people totally overestimate their own capabilities. So, for example, interviewing, there's numerous people I've worked with, and you have come across them as well, who say, I know who's good and who's not good. Yeah, a warm handshake. Yeah, and I already know that you are a fantastic candidate. So people and there's proof and proof again that maybe it's better just to look at the Hogan test, yeah, and say, okay, well, we look at the Hogan test and hire or not, then the interview of the all. It's not totally true because there's other evidence that some people are better assessors than other people. So organizations that measure constantly, they detect that you are generally a good predictor of success in organizations. I make it up. We don't know each other, but he's sitting on the front row. I'm picking on him a little bit, but yeah. So some people are better than other people. So what clever companies do, they measure it constantly, and then they say, well, your judgment is a lot more valuable than Tom's judgment because Tom's judgment generally has been proven to be lousy. Yeah. I go to you, sorry.
I also have a methodological point.
Yeah.
Because I'm a friend of or very optimistic with these new techniques.
Yeah.
But what is often forgotten is, in my opinion, that all these HR analytics algorithms and relationships that were found behind are found in investigating a large number of people, finding relationships, which also means that because one example, you do some of these tests or apply one test. Then you find in a large number of people, people with a score above or below 50 are not very successful in the job.
Yeah.
You cannot apply this finding on the single person level because this is always forgotten also in research.
Yeah. Yeah.
You only find this relationship in investigating a large number of people. You cannot say Mr. Smith has applied, he has a score of 49, so he will definitely not do the job well. This is wrong.
No.
So this is methodological, and I also have the. My feeling is that also some researchers are not always aware of this. At least some of them. So to put it in a nutshell, I would also agree. Very good things.
There's opportunities.
But it is opportunities are big, but there should not be a cut-off only based off these methods.
No, and we're now you're talking about selection, but it's also about creating opportunities. For example, another example, real example we used in a company about talent identification, and in many companies, again, where I've worked in, so my experience is limited to where I've worked, but their talent identification goes a little bit like this. I don't need the microphone. It goes, I'm the HR person. I go to manager one. I say, who are your good people? And I note them down. I say, who are you good people? I note them down. And who are you good people? Yeah. And what I sketch now generally takes months, because then I put them in a list, and then and the people in the back are totally forgotten, and your line of sight. So what we do with a machine, so I do this exercise, and I put the CVs in the machine. I say, well, these are these are the people identified as talent so far. And then the machine said, and they say, here's another pile of people. Why didn't you consider them? And it's not about selection, but it's about, hey, there's suddenly a lot more sight on talent, and it helps enormously. Whether it's right or not, that's another thing to be seen.
It is also the same thing, so I also think it's a very good add-on to use this methods, because as we know from meta-analysis and something regarding recruitment and job success, the more information you have, the better the decision is at the end. So it is a good add-on.
I think I don't need it. There's another
Okay.
point.
It's fine. Can everybody hear each other? Oh, we need it for the record. Sorry. Yeah. So it's all taped and then analyzed, and then the talent out of this room is. So it's.
Another point that has to be taken into account is the concept of social validity. What people feel like is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they don't understand what is measured and why it is measured, they might trust more the judgment of the managers if they think that is fair. So if they don't really trust the method, that's also very interesting in recruiting processes, that people they need the feeling that they can trust the data.
Yeah, but that's super important. But there, the evidence is that the judgment of managers, for example, generally is poor. Yeah. So if you talk about performance management, for example, often the worst person to make a real good judgment of an individual is the manager. There we know from evidence that the peers is a lot better feedback than the manager, because the peers work day in day in with their colleagues. Again, micro example, in the software company I work in, we have 10 developers. They know exactly who is the best developer of the 10. We don't. They work day in, and you see it in the behavior that the best person, is the go-to person, for example, for the other 9. If we have really something difficult, we go to X, Y, Z. But it's super important. People should, but it can create more transparency, openness, and honesty. And a last remark on this right here. What's your name?
I'm Gerhard Kink. My
Gerhard.
question is, if you, I've counted, there are about more than 11 tools.
Oh yeah, there's hundreds. I just gave you a selection.
But from the one you presented. If you present the results of 11 of these analytical tools to an HR manager, what qualified decisions can he draw from these results?
Well, there's one question before that. Why do you need an HR manager to put them through? But that's another discussion, because what is the HR manager going to do? Many of those tools will help more directly, I would say, managers, people in the organization. So that's one thing. But I can I can go with example by example. But this is a good example where you don't need HR, because this tool will improves the life of clients, and it improves the life of the people on the work floor. And so that's an immediate result of using this instrument. The Textio example, in the hands of HR people, will immediately improve the level of communication to the labor market of the HR people. And then people say, but I know exactly how to write good texts. My assumption, I don't know in what profession you are, but let's assume you're a recruiter. I know that a lot of things can be improved by analyzing it. And so I think life of HR, life of people in organizations can become a lot more effective. And we go. Absolutely. Tim. Tim is also an HR tech specialist, probably more than I am.
So I think the interesting point is combining all the different tools. So it's not that one tool that says, hey, if you don't have a cloud score above 50, we don't hire you. So that's not the point from the company perspective. You should not aim at that. But if you smartly or intelligently combine all the data points, also enrich it with data that the employee is producing during his tenure, during his working time at the company, and then you identify a pattern. And you say, okay, is someone from a private university 5 years in the job really much better than someone from a public university? So we might have gut feeling, but in the hiring process, somebody from WHU might be much better presenting himself, but is he really good in the job 5 years after we hired them? So, and I think the interesting piece from the people analytics perspective is taking all the different data point, connecting them, and then gaining actionable insights. That's what the Americans are saying. So finding out patterns that help us to hire and identify better people. And then it's all about the number. It's not about that individual that you mentioned, but if you are an organization who hires 50,000 people a year, then it's a numbers game, because if you reduce the turnover of people quitting within 6 months in the job by 10%, this is a massive financial gain. And I think all the analytics piece only makes sense if you really have high numbers.
And it's you're saying two things. It's one, connecting multiple data points and learning from that, adding human pattern recognition also to that. And I don't know about the large numbers, so that's a discussion point. We go back here to the front because you had another.
One important point is the fact that that all these analytical tools are not covering a mandatory base.
Yeah.
It depends on the individual. If you look at Textio, I can easily feed a text of Shakespeare into it and get a good ranking, hopefully. Yeah.
Absolutely, if you want to do that, that's fine.
And network analysis is only applied by one organization with a lot of success. Networking people, and the organization is in the USA, the NSA.
Yeah.
They are very successful at this.
Yeah. I don't know about if it's only one, but I don't know exactly what your statement now is. So what is your Is it what do you want to say?
Yeah. Okay, the statement is much of the input depends on luck, on probability, or whatever, because it is not tracked or captured and tracked on a mandatory basis, or with some of the tools.
No, so the mandatory element is what you see, but it is an other angle that things that are not mandatory can be very successful by reason they are not mandatory. It also changes, again I don't need it, the expectation of employees in organizations. Because it's the same, I don't know how it is in Germany. In the Netherlands we have a lot of discussion about the electronic patient file, and going on for 20 years, legal discussion. There's no common electronic patient file. But today, people go to their doctors and say, well, you know, doctor, I've looked at my heart rate, and I point at my Fitbit. I've looked at my heart rate for the past week. I'm a little bit worried, And then the doctor says, but consumers are creating today their own electronic patient file, whether law wants it or not. So the mandatory part does not work, but the voluntary part starts to change the shape of organizations. I call it in the first slide, you could have the consumeration of HR. That is an important trend. People are expecting more and more that what they experience outside, in the outside world, is also happening in organizations. I'm sure who of you have Netflix? Yeah. So Netflix, again, not perfect yet, but if I switch on Netflix, it tells me, hey Tom, here are some nice movies for you. And it's not because I'm a male of 50 plus, that this is a segment of male 50 plus. It has looked at my behavior and it knows better and better and better what type of movies and series I like. I also expect that in an organization, not saying our talent needs to have this development, and that's, I think, the next slide to show you some more input before we go to the next round. It's the opportunities to tailor to individuals is enormous today. And that, I think, is a big opportunity for HR. HR today in the organizations, again, where generally they crudely talk about segments. Today it's all about Gen Y, the millennials. There's all kinds of assumptions about how do they behave and what do they want. The reality is there's not a lot of evidence that the millennials are a homogeneous group. And it's not necessary, because I can ask you and measure what you want and what is a good fit with you, what for a kind of career, what kind of opportunities. And that is difficult for HR in many countries, because HR generally is about one size fits all, or two sizes fits two. But making it really individual and tailoring it is difficult for HR. Yeah, we have to speak in the. Yeah.
there's just one another note which came into my mind. I think the effectiveness of using those tools is very strongly depending of having a clear profile, because all these measurements only make sense when you measure the right thing. So you have to know, you have a clear profile for which people are successful in that job, which people or what are the determinants of being satisfied with that role. And if you have this clear profile, you can think about, okay, how can I measure it? And then you have to select a tool which directly measure these elements.
I don't agree. But I won't go into that discussion now, because in the end, the profiling, what you say, we first need to know exactly what you're looking for, and then you go looking, is not necessary any longer. Because with the big data, and take my Netflix part, the starting point is not what is Tom what is the profile of Tom and what is he looking for. It learns over time how I behave.
If it learns, I agree.
Yeah, it's learning.
It has to learn.
It has to learn.
Okay.
But the learning element, we talked about artificial intelligence, the learning element is an important element. But the systems and the combination of people with machines make life a lot easier, but it has to be learning. An example of Secret Service. All the data in the world is captured, telephone, but then still it's very difficult for the computers to say what is really happening, to see the patterns. So what happens in Secret Service? I've not been there, and it's out of stories I read, so don't connect me with the Secret Service. But what you have is in the Secret Service, you have 4 or 5 super specialists who are fed by patterns from the machine. And then it says, hey, something alarming here. A group of people in Leipzig gathering together, and there's agitation we sense there. Yeah? Then the specialist, Mr. Wald, Professor Wald, looks what he says, oh no, that's just a meeting of students, HR Innovation Day. So, and then the machine learns. So, hey, Leipzig, group of people in May, not dangerous. So that combination of super specialists, pattern recognizers, and data analysis makes life, and that's evolving. It's not finished. It's early days. 10 minutes? Okay, that's great. Yeah, we have a. So and then the last round of discussion. Another angle is the fun element, and it might be serious, but what you also see is gathering data in a fun way. This is another example, maybe number 12 or 13. The wasabi waiter, do you know it? Wasabi waiter is from a company called Knack, K-N-A-C-K. It's a selection tool. You play the wasabi waiter, and it gives you a relatively good prediction about conceptual capabilities of people. Many companies use it, and it's a fun way. It only costs 15 minutes or so to play it. Worthwhile to look at. It's not free. You have to pay as a company to do it. Again, the dangerous side, going to the social credit score in China. What they are doing in China at this moment, and it's a combination, you could say, of gamification. Gamification, and Big Brother is watching you. But in the end, in 2020, all the Chinese citizens will have a social credit score, and they calculate how, in the end, are you a good citizen? Yeah, are you a good citizen? And if your social credit score is too low, like the cloud score, no job, no, very frightening. But it's in full progress at this moment. Again, at university, we're at the university there. What they are already doing today is, for example, students with a scholarship. They look at the students with scholarship. They also look at their mobile telephone behavior. If you have a scholarship and you use too much your mobile telephone, they say, hey, apparently you have money enough to have all those phone calls. We are going to reduce your scholarship fee. So super frightening, but it's happening. Social credit score, the Chinese government has by 2020, everybody in our country will have a social credit score. Yeah. Sorry, we have to tape it. Yeah.
That was actually the question during the first discussion, because we have one side data, we are analyzing data, but what about the individuals who are aware of the fact that they are analyzed?
Yeah.
It's exactly that I know that I am observed. That's why I know how to adjust my behavior. And it's not new that many companies offer even courses how you can adjust your profile to fit.
Yeah.
I think.
Can you fool the machine?
Exactly.
Yeah.
These tools adjust our behavior. I think the behavior of candidates. And if I am aware that there is the social credit code, then it means that I am aware how I have to behave. And it means that I am impacted by the social expectations.
Absolutely. And so this is under the chapter gamification. It's a game, partly. It's a game. And your choice is, do I play the game or don't I play the game? And that's absolutely ongoing as well. So it's a little bit partly a dark side. But if you say, I don't want to play the game, like LinkedIn or Sing, and if you say, if you want a new job, you better make sure you have a good profile on Sing. And you better make sure that you're foundable. So is that right or is that wrong? That's a choice you have. So if you have a choice, but there is a moment, in China, people don't have a choice. Because if you don't have, you might have a choice, but if your credit score is too low, you find yourself out of a job. Yeah. I will just end with one more question, basically, and this is about, and it's alluding to some of the elements some of you mentioned. What do we know about real performance of people? Your question, how can you use data in the hands of HR people? Again, there is a lot of evidence. Many HR practices are built on, in the end, the assumption that performance of people has a kind of normal distribution. Yeah, you have the average. Some people are a little bit better. Some people are worse. You all know the GE example, saying, well, yeah, you have to get rid of the bottom 10%. So many HR practices are built on this assumption. Pay, for example, we pay 100 at midpoint, and the good people can maybe go up to 120. There, where performance can be measured well, generally it has this kind of distribution. A few people with performance which is a lot higher than average. And it's very worthwhile. And for HR, this is a little bit, you could say, ground which still has to be investigated. But in professions where it can be measured, for example, groupiers, a groupier at the table, there you can exactly measure what is the turnover, how much money is spent on that table, and how much money is won by the casino. Groupiers on the top tables, the good groupiers are about 7-8 times better than average. So it's very worthwhile to find, but if it is groupiers, salespeople, for some professions, like many of us in the room, it's a lot more difficult to say what exactly is our performance. But it's worthwhile to look into it, because then if you can find those people, you probably only have to hire 1 or 2 instead of 10 people with average performance. There's a lot more to say, but I don't want to go over time and keep you from lunch. So before opening for the final round of questions, HR analytics, danger or perspective, it's not totally black. Is there lunch? Yeah? Okay. The smiling. Okay, that's fine. We're just rounding off, and yeah. It's not black and white, but there is many opportunities with a lot of question marks. Is it perfect? is it methodologically rightly, because that's very important. Do we use it with the right scientific and methodological background? Don't we make it too black and white? But my personal conviction is we can make life in organizations and the impact of HR a lot bigger if we use it in a sensible way, but it's not the holy grail, because unfortunately the holy grail does not exist. So there's work for us a lot of time. Any closing remarks from people in the audience? I don't want to keep you from lunch. I thank you for your attention, and take care. And this was only chapter 1 of my 4 chapters, so only 4?